G'day, ZiggyD here and welcome to my quick start guide for Path of Exile. This video should serve to give absolute beginners to the game something to work from, a basic knowledge of the game's mechanics so that they can jump right into the fun stuff. So let's get started with a game overview and a look at the classes. Path of Exile is a loot-based action RPG. You control a character from a top-down perspective, smashing monsters and getting loot. You can create a character who is one of 6 classes: the Marauder, the Witch, the Ranger, the Templar, the Duelist, and the Shadow. The main differences between these classes are their starting stats, their position on the passive skill tree, and the skills that they will have available from quest rewards. In the open beta there are 3 acts and 3 difficulties for you to test your character and your builds against. Skills and skill gems. Skills in this game are determined by items called skill gems. To use them, you simply place them into sockets in your equipment and they level up and increase with power as they gain experience from the enemies that you kill. Skill gems are classed as either strength, intelligence or dexterity, and you are only limited in what you can use by these stats. Skills can be modified and made more powerful by support gems, which can be linked through linked sockets in your gear. These support gems can give a range of effects, depending on the support gem and the skill that it is linked to. Leveling in the passive skill tree. Every level you gain in Path of Exile gives you a passive skill point. The passive skill tree, sometimes known as skill drizzle, will determine your character's stats and how they play. It's a very good idea to plan out your character somewhat before getting started, as it can be very easy to lose your sense of direction without a bit of a map. The most important thing to remember when it comes to builds in Path of Exile is that it's almost guaranteed that you will screw up your first character and have to re-roll a new one. This is how you learn what works and what doesn't, so don't let it get you down when it happens. You can plan out your passive build on the Skill Tree Planner, which can be found on the Path of Exile website. Character builds. Because of the massive amount of flexibility in the skill gem system and the passive skill tree, it's possible to build your character in almost any way. Feel free to make a witch into a two-handed axe-wielding fighter if you feel like a bit of a challenge. When it comes to builds, you have 2 options. You can pick some skills and notable passives and try and create your own, or you can look up builds made by high-level players in the community. The choice is yours and both options can be very rewarding. For more information on how to plan out your own build, make sure to check out the linked video. The Flask system. Flasks are Path of Exile's unique potion system. When you use a flask, it doesn't disappear. Instead, you only consume charges from it. Charges are earned back by killing enemies. This means to keep your potions topped up, you have to keep killing enemies or revisit town. Potions can have magical modifiers just like normal gear as well, and this is just one more way that you can customize your character. The currency and crafting systems. The currency, trading and crafting systems in Path of Exile are quite unique. There is no monetary system like gold or dollars. Instead, everything is traded via barter or item-to-item trading, even to vendors in town. The most commonly traded item types are currency items, which also represent the game's crafting system. For a more in-depth look at the currency and crafting system in Path of Exile, check out the linked video. Controls and the user interface. Path of Exile features a control system that should be familiar to anyone who has played an isometric action RPG before, or even any similar game. Your character interacts with the world primarily through left clicks, and this includes moving, opening chests and doors, and even attacking enemies. From that point onwards, skills that are equipped can be used by binding them to the right click, middle mouse button, and the Q, W, E, R, and T buttons. Flasks are used by pressing the 1 through 5 keys, and your character can be told to stand their ground and attack by holding the Shift key and left clicking. Other useful keys to know are Tab, which brings up a larger map, and Alt, which will show item labels that are on the ground. You can also enable item labels to always be shown by pressing Z. Many other things have hotkeys like this, so be sure to explore the tooltips and options menu for the different game functions to learn them all. And now, some basic guidelines for success in Path of Exile. First up, don't neglect defense and health on the passive tree. It can be very tempting to always try and get more and more damage, but you'll soon find yourself dying a lot if you neglect your survivability. Dying also carries an experience penalty in the later difficulties, and you want to avoid this as much as possible. Next up, building pure evasion to dodge attacks can seem like a good idea at the time, that is, until you get surrounded by a lot of smaller enemies and beat down, or one big hit happens to get past your dodge. As a beginner, never rely on one form of defense. Next, resistances are very important in Path of Exile, especially for certain bosses. Rings are the easiest way to get resistances in the early game. Finally, make sure to touch waypoints to activate them. This serves as a way of saving your progress in Breaklast, and it can suck to miss one and then have to run all the way back to that map. This has been a very beginner-oriented guide, and its main purpose was to point you in the right direction. Now your job is to start playing and learning the game in much more detail. If you need more information, check out the description of this video for more places to look. Finally, I just want to give a very special thanks to Redditor Jamak for his beginner's guide, which was the inspiration for this one. I'll put a link to it in the description below as well. That's it for this video. If you want to see more in-depth Path of Exile video guides, then be sure to check out my YouTube channel. I'm ZiggyD, and thanks for watching.